Christmas in California, a season traditionally painted with the golden hues of sun-drenched beaches and the festive glow of mountain hearths, was supposed to be simple this year. Families envisioned packed highways leading to cozy cabins, hot chocolate by a roaring fire, children dreaming of fresh snow in the Sierra Nevada, and flights landing full of holiday travelers eager for a peaceful escape. Instead, the state awoke to the brutal reality of one of the most powerful winter storms in decades, and in a matter of hours, everything changed. Interstate 80, the very lifeline threading through the majestic Sierra Nevada, vanished beneath several feet of relentless snow. Cars spun out like forgotten toys, semi-trucks jackknifed in grotesque contortions, and countless families found themselves trapped in blinding whiteout conditions, unable to see more than a few feet in front of their vehicles. The slow, agonizing drop of the gas gauge became a terrifying countdown to an unknown fate. For thousands, this was no longer a holiday. It was a desperate struggle for survival, a stark reminder of nature's raw, untamed power. Yet, amidst the harrowing scenes, the mountains themselves presented a breathtaking, almost serene paradox. Ancient pines glazed in crystal ice, charming cabins buried up to their windows, and fresh powder piling up inch by inch, transforming the landscape into an ethereal wonderland. Ski resorts initially called it a dream, a bounty that promised a stellar season. Drivers, however, lived a waking nightmare. Wind gusts exceeding 60 miles per hour sculpted snow into towering drifts measured in feet, not mere inches, while avalanche warnings, like grim specters, stretched across the vast backcountry. Power lines, stressed beyond their limits, snapped with concussive force. Airports, usually bustling hubs of holiday cheer, abruptly shut down, grounding thousands. More than 165,000 homes plunged into darkness, their inhabitants isolated and vulnerable. Meanwhile, in the south, the storm manifested an entirely different, yet equally destructive, wrath. Not snow, but pounding rain, churning mudslides, terrifying flash flooding, and hurricane-force winds slammed into unsuspecting coastal cities. Meteorologists with a chilling sense of urgency explained that this catastrophic event wasn't an anomaly, but a harbinger. This, they warned, is precisely the kind of extreme weather we are poised to witness more often. Long, parched droughts followed by explosive, overwhelming winter storms that cripple critical infrastructure. Roads, airports, power grids, and even challenge the resilience of seasoned mountain communities. This Christmas storm didn't just deliver precipitation. It delivered a chilling, undeniable warning about our changing climate and the fragility of our modern world. Tonight, we journey to Truckee, Donner Summit, Mammoth Mountain, and across California, delving into the choked traffic jams, the surreal beauty of the ski resorts, the silent terror of blackout neighborhoods, and the frantic urgency of rescue operations. We seek to understand how a holiday snowstorm spiraled into statewide chaos. Are you ready? Because for thousands of unsuspecting travelers, Christmas in California became the most dangerous, unforgettable trip of their lives. That's what it looks like, a disembodied voice crackled, reflecting the disorientation as the Sierra Nevada became the epicenter of national attention. As the Christmas storm exploded in intensity, the mundane ritual of holiday travel was transformed into a high-risk odyssey. Beginning on December 22nd and peaking through the sacred days of Christmas Eve and Christmas Day, snow fell with a relentless, almost sentient fury across the mountains. Interstate 80, particularly near the gateway towns of Truckee and the historic Donner Summit, disappeared entirely under several feet of snow, morphing one of the busiest western corridors into a frozen, labyrinthine maze of stalled traffic and abandoned vehicles. Drivers who had set out anticipating a picturesque winter drive suddenly found themselves encased in blinding whiteout conditions. Every familiar landmark, lane lines, road edges, even the vehicle directly ahead, erased from existence. Spinouts multiplied with terrifying speed. Semi-trucks, those titans of the highway, jackknifed across multiple lanes, creating impenetrable barriers. Families sat trapped on icy grades, the storm dumping snow faster than even the most dedicated plows could clear it. Caltrans and the California Highway Patrol, overwhelmed but resolute, activated full winter protocols. Mandatory chain controls were rigorously enforced in both directions, and officers were repeatedly forced to shut down vast sections of I-80. Their efforts concentrated on extricating wrecked vehicles and battling the rapidly forming enormous snowdrifts. Tow trucks, their operators sacrificing their own holidays, worked non-stop, their headlights cutting through the blizzard as cars slid off shoulders and became entombed in deep snowbanks. Travelers reported waiting for hours, sometimes an entire day, without moving an inch, running their engines intermittently, agonizingly conserving fuel while fighting the encroaching cold. Some, by sheer force of will or luck, managed to turn back to Truckee for shelter, finding solace in its temporarily besieged safety. Others, with no viable option, were compelled to ride out the blizzard inside the confines of their cars, their Christmas dreams dissolving into a chilling reality. What amplified the peril of the situation was a treacherous confluence. The sheer volume of snowfall coupled with savage 60-mile-per-hour wind gusts and rapidly plummeting temperatures. Snow wasn't just falling. It was blowing sideways across the highway, piling into deep, formidable ridges that erased tire tracks within minutes, making navigation a death-defying gamble. Emergency responders issued grave warnings, underscoring that even the most seasoned mountain drivers were dangerously underestimating the brutal conditions. For many, the Sierra Nevada, typically a welcoming gateway to exhilarating ski vacations and the comforting embrace of cozy cabins, suddenly felt hostile, unforgiving, and utterly indifferent to human suffering. Christmas travel had devolved into a raw test of patience, meticulous preparation, and ultimately, a battle for survival on one of America's most iconic and now most dangerous mountain passes. While Interstate 80 choked under the relentless assault of snow and traffic, Mammoth Mountain stood as a potent symbol of the storm's double-edged nature, a canvas of breathtaking beauty interwoven with imminent, tangible danger. For the legions of skiers and snowboarders, it was, in a word, the Christmas they had fervently dreamed of all year. Higher elevations registered an astounding 90 to 100 inches of new snow, and Mammoth Lakes itself lay buried beneath a staggering 3 to 4 feet. Cabins disappeared, their windows just peeking above the white shroud. Cars were transformed into small anonymous snow mounds. Fresh powder drifted across rooftops, rendering the entire eastern Sierra a living, breathing postcard, a winter wonderland of unparalleled splendor. But beneath this pristine facade, the situation was rapidly deteriorating. Wind gusts, repeatedly topping 60 miles per hour, forced the intermittent shutdown of vital chairlifts and gondolas, stranding some and frustrating many. Ski patrols, the silent guardians of the slopes, worked through the night. Their efforts focused on crucial avalanche control using precisely placed explosives, a chilling reminder that one wrong step off groomed terrain could trigger a deadly, indiscriminate slide. Roads leading into Mammoth were closed multiple times, the whiteout conditions returning with a vengeance. Flights into Bishop and Reno, the primary aerial gateways, were delayed or outright canceled, leaving frustrated travelers stranded, with no clear idea when the relentless weather would finally break. Grocery stores and gas stations reported long lines, a collective preemptive scramble as residents stocked up, preparing for the unsettling possibility of being snowed in for days, or even weeks. Power outages swept through neighborhoods, as the heavy wet snow snapped tree limbs and utility lines, forcing families to rely on the flickering glow of generators, the warmth of wood stoves, and whatever emergency supplies they had managed to prepare. Emergency crews, in a testament to community spirit, went door to door in some isolated areas, checking on elderly residents and those living alone, battling the elements to ensure their safety. For the local economy, the storm, paradoxically, felt like a miracle, rescuing what had been a disappointing early season. But for many residents and visitors alike, it was also a profound, humbling reminder that mountain life, for all its beauty, comes with an inherent, non-negotiable risk. In Mammoth, Christmas delivered both the promise of a booming ski season and a powerful, unforgettable lesson in respect for winter's formidable power. "My say hi, everyone. Let's go home," a weary voice implored, echoing the sentiment of thousands. As snow piled up across the Sierra, another, more insidious danger quietly grew: avalanches. What began as a severe winter storm swiftly evolved into a full-blown backcountry emergency. The National Weather Service, in close collaboration with the U.S. Forest Service and the Mount Shasta Avalanche Center, issued urgent avalanche warnings across vast areas of Northern California's high country. Two powerful storm waves had stacked layer after layer of new, unstable snow on top of older, weaker snowpacks. Crucially, wind gusts exceeding 60 miles per hour acted as a brutal sculptor, transporting massive quantities of snow onto leeward slopes, forming deep, dangerously unstable drifts. The terrifying result was a classic recipe for disaster: steep terrain, rapid loading, and deeply buried weak layers that could fail without the slightest warning. The dedicated ski patrol teams and mountain safety crews worked around the clock, their mission critical. They systematically set off controlled explosive charges, their booming echoes a chilling soundtrack to the Christmas season, designed to trigger smaller, contained slides before nature unleashed bigger, uncontrolled ones that could engulf entire valleys. Despite these desperate warnings, a concerning number of backcountry enthusiasts, fueled by a thirst for fresh powder, pushed into closed terrain, dangerously underestimating the profound instability. Rescuers responded to multiple harrowing calls for stranded skiers and snowmobilers who were either caught in blinding whiteouts or tragically trapped by the debris of unexpected avalanches. Authorities urged the public to entirely avoid ungroomed slopes, reiterating that even the most experienced backcountry travelers could fatally misjudge snow conditions that changed by the hour. For residents of mountain towns, the distant, thudding sound of avalanche booms became an unsettling yet familiar part of the Christmas soundtrack. Highways near steep, susceptible slopes were placed under temporary closures as crews meticulously assessed the immediate slide risk. In certain vulnerable canyons, the danger level was elevated to high, a stark pronouncement meaning natural avalanches were not just possible, but highly probable, and human-triggered avalanches were almost guaranteed. The message from forecasters was both simple and urgent. This was unequivocally not the storm to push one's luck. The very snow that promised unforgettable skiing also harbored the immense power to bury roads, destroy structures, and tragically claim lives within seconds. As the storm intensified, its reach extended far beyond the snow-covered peaks, revealing a deeper, more systemic problem. California's vast infrastructure itself was being pushed to its absolute breaking point. The relentless Christmas week surge in travel collided head-on with a storm system that simply refused to abate. Interstate 80. The arteries of the state became a tragicomic cycle, opening, closing, and reopening again, as plows fought a losing battle against the drifting snow. Rest areas, normally brief stops, became impromptu shelters, overflowing with stranded travelers, their festive plans shattered. Tow truck drivers, true unsung heroes, worked through the night, spending their holidays pulling vehicles out of icy ditches, sacrificing their family time for the safety of strangers. For thousands of people, the road, cold and unforgiving, became their living room, their bedroom, and their desolate waiting room, all at once. Across the sprawling state, the same story of vulnerability and disruption repeated itself in myriad forms. More than 165,000 homes and businesses lost power as heavy snow and powerful winds snapped ancient trees and utility lines. Utility crews, braving icy conditions and sub-freezing wind chills, worked heroically to restore electricity, sometimes hiking through waist-deep snow, battling exhaustion and the elements to reach damaged lines. Airports faced mounting delays and cancellations, a domino effect of chaos. In Santa Barbara, the relentless flooding forced the complete closure of its airport, entirely grounding commercial flights at the absolute zenith of the holiday rush. For travelers, viable options dwindled to zero. Roads were blocked, flights were canceled, and the weather, with sadistic persistence, continued to worsen. Emergency management agencies, stretched thin, declared states of emergency across multiple counties. Shelters were hastily opened for people who could not reach their destinations, their holidays spent in shared discomfort. Police and fire departments responded to an incessant barrage of calls. Spinouts, downed trees, collapsed roofs under the snow's weight, and highways rendered impassable. In mountain towns, grocery store shelves thinned ominously as crucial supply trucks were delayed or stopped altogether, threatening basic necessities. What began as a severe winter storm had now become a brutal stress test for California's vast transportation network, its critical power grid, and its overburdened emergency services. The lesson was unavoidable and stark. When extreme weather arrives during peak travel season, even a state as large, resource-rich, and ostensibly prepared as California can find itself struggling, desperately, to keep up. While the Sierra Nevada drowned in snow, Southern California faced a completely different, yet equally devastating kind of Christmas chaos. Torrential rain, terrifying flash flooding, and destructive landslides. A powerful atmospheric river, a veritable pipeline of moisture, pumped warm Pacific air into the region, relentlessly soaking cities that were already saturated from earlier, less severe storms. Streets in bustling Los Angeles, affluent Orange County, and vibrant San Diego transformed into fast-moving rivers, swallowing vehicles and stranding motorists. Hillsides, already weakened by the scars of previous wildfires, began to slide, sending torrents of mud and debris across vital roads and into residential neighborhoods, threatening homes and lives. In several vulnerable canyon communities, preemptive evacuation warnings were issued as creeks swelled rapidly and unstable rocks crashed down onto precarious mountain highways, severing connections. Wind emerged as another relentless, pervasive enemy. Coastal and desert areas experienced terrifying gusts between 50 and 70 miles per hour, strong enough to topple mature trees, rip down power lines, and inflict significant damage on roofs. Along Highway 395 and Interstate 5 over the Grapevine, drivers battled sideways rain, blinding, blowing dust, and near-zero visibility, a harrowing journey through a meteorological gauntlet. The National Weather Service issued urgent warnings that even brief, intense bursts of heavy rain, half an inch to 3/4 of an inch per hour in some localized areas, were more than enough to trigger dangerous flash flooding. First responders carried out numerous swift-water rescues, plucking motorists from stalled cars trapped in rapidly rising waters, despite repeated public pleas to turn around and avoid flooded roadways. Air travel fared no better. Delays stacked up at major airports, and the Santa Barbara airport, as previously noted, was entirely shut down due to flooding, grounding holiday flights, and stranding thousands. For families expecting a calm Christmas morning, the gentle sound of rain on the roof was replaced by the cacophony of sirens, the blare of emergency weather alerts, and the unsettling silence of power outage notifications. What made this storm truly remarkable was not merely its sheer strength, but its astonishing, devastating reach. Blizzard conditions in the northern mountains, catastrophic flooding on the southern coast, and destructive winds whipping through the desert, all unfolding simultaneously. California wasn't merely dealing with a single storm, it was grappling with every conceivable kind of winter hazard at once. Snow, rain, wind, floods, and mudslides stretched emergency resources from one end of the vast state to the other, pushing personnel and equipment to their absolute limits. California's Christmas storm will be etched into memory not just for its monumental snow totals or its ferocious wind speeds, but for the profound truths it revealed. How quickly a holiday can descend into a desperate rescue operation. How fragile our meticulously constructed roads and power systems can truly be. And how powerful, how utterly untamed, nature still remains in the 21st century. From Truckee and Donner Summit, buried under an unimaginable blanket of snow, to Mammoth Mountain, shaking under the controlled yet terrifying blasts of avalanche mitigation to Southern California, wading through the deluge of floods and the terror of mudslides. This was a single storm, but one with many faces. For some, it brought the best skiing of their lives, an unparalleled winter experience. For others, it brought the longest, coldest, and most terrifying night they have ever spent, trapped on a highway shoulder, praying for dawn. Events like this are becoming not just more frequent, but demonstrably more intense and heartbreakingly unpredictable. The critical question is no longer if we will witness storms of this catastrophic scale again. It is when, and, far more importantly, how prepared we will truly be next time. Winter is far from over. The Pacific Ocean, a vast and unpredictable engine of weather, remains active, and more systems are already lining up offshore, poised to strike.